Auburn says, no thank you, Birmingham Bowl.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie Five, and we are ready to get after it. My voice is hanging in there. We're going to make it through this. When the weather dips and it's been wet and miserable for a couple of weeks, it's trying to take me down, but I'm not going to let it happen. Reports over the weekend, Auburn turns down a bowl invite along with a host of others to the Birmingham Bowl. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of that. Bowl games are dead. Bowl games are on life support. We're going to talk about that as well. And then a little bit of a hoops outlook after we just got absolutely demolished on the road versus Arizona. But let's jump right in. Auburn was one of several teams that were at 5-7, where the academic report or academic score or something like that put them in the eligible range that if enough teams in front of them either didn't accept invites or couldn't accept invites, that Auburn could slide in there and possibly get a bowl bid, even with a losing record. But Auburn decides to turn it down, and after really thinking about it, I totally get it. There's a lot of pros to bowl games. Look, back in the day, that would be the time that you got a chance to see the younger guys. I can remember when Tommy Tuberville was here. That was, when you made a bowl game, they would have a huge freshman and sophomore scrimmage at one point in time. Like during those practices, I want to say they called it the toilet bowl. They called it something. It was funny, where they would just allow some of the guys that don't get to play very much, like a full-on scrimmage. And it was a good time to, I guess, celebrate, a good time to work on next year. It was almost like an extra spring practice. And if you took advantage of the practice time, it could be extremely beneficial. So in a way, that was one thing that I thought would be very beneficial, especially with the new staff, for evaluation. It'd be a really good time to actually see how these guys practice, see how these guys perform on game day. And for a lot of times, you can keep kids in town that could, I guess, just unenroll or just go home, after classes are out. Classes were finished. This is exam week. So there could be some kids that have already had their exams done. There could be some that do their exams remote. So a bowl game would help you be able to keep some kids here. I know there could be opt-outs, and we're going to talk about opt-outs as well. But I thought it would be just a good advantage, for building for the future. But when you really think about all of the things that have to be done, it really makes bowl practices, bowl arrangements, bowl travel plans a huge hindrance. You don't even have your staff fully hired yet. There's a press conference today, and there's been some talk that, maybe the rest of the staff will be announced, and we'll see if that happens. Not a ton left, but yeah, you still got some. You definitely have, 4 or 5 different on the field roles that still have to be filled, and there's essentially no former staff in the off the field area still retained. So you got a ton of positions there to fill. There's just a lot going on. you gotta be you're negotiating every single day with your current players. You're trying to get their needs figured out. You're trying to sell yourself to them. It's like a whole a whole new recruiting period. And most of the top tier guys, I would imagine, would probably opt out for the game anyway. I don't exactly know what type of NIL weight that the Birmingham Bowl provides. I would assume it's bowl games in general are probably similar to like the Baylor game for next year, the opening game for Baylor, where there are some NIL. I guess there are some NIL opportunities, but how much of an opportunity really is there coming from the Birmingham Bowl? I just don't think that's going to be a big time moneymaker for these guys. So I would assume you'd have a ton of opt outs. So are you really going to gain a ton from evaluating, a lot of the guys that, may not even necessarily be huge contributors on next year's team? No, I think you want to make, if you could get anything out of it, it would be, I want to see, all these top end guys perform. I want to see all these top end guys that are going to be my big time players for next year. And I just don't think you're going to get that out of bowl season. It just becomes a huge distraction. It's one thing to turn down a bowl at like 9-3. It's another thing when you have a losing record. I mean, you didn't earn it. When I say earn it in quotation marks, from the the traditional sense of having a 6-6 or better record. So, and then you got to go to Birmingham, which I don't hate Birmingham, but you're from Auburn. You don't even, I guess you don't even necessarily have to go. I mean, I know they do go spend time there, but you could just drive up for the day. I get it. After really thinking about it, I get it. But Auburn was one of several that just said no, thank you. Some conferences, that was another thing that I was curious about, is how conferences as a whole handle that, because if it's still the same, like typically the SEC will take the bowl payout money from everybody that makes a bowl, put it in a pool, and then divide it out amongst all the SEC schools. So how does that work? I wonder. With Auburn declining a bid, that essentially takes money out of everybody's pocket, I would imagine. Maybe they don't care. Maybe they don't care anymore. I know that the Big 12 had several schools, had maybe 3 schools with winning records decline bowl bids. Notre Dame declined one with a bowl bid, with a winning record, obviously, and they were fined pretty substantially by the conference. I don't think I've heard necessarily anything of that nature in regards to Auburn, but Auburn will not be playing in the Birmingham Bowl. I know that's going to break a lot of hearts, but that is the case. So I'd love to know your thoughts on that. I like to watch Auburn play football no matter what. If it's an excuse to get to see Auburn play football another game, that would be awesome. With Golesh being the head coach now, it's a lot also to turn around in a very short amount of time, installing a new offense, and then no matter what the situation is, nobody's going to be able to watch it and think about it rationally. You'd be playing Georgia Southern, heaven forbid somehow you lose that game because you can't either get enough players to actually opt in to play the game, or the whole churning a staff to be able to get the offense going. That's a whole nother issue. And then no matter what, you stack all those up, no matter what, if you somehow lose that game, it would be a terrible taste in their mouth already about your new head coach. The more and more I think about it, the risks far outweigh the potential rewards. So if you're hoping to see Auburn get a bowl bid, I hate to break it to you, but it ain't happening. It is not happening. We're going to talk. I think bowl games are pretty much dead. They're on life support now. I would imagine that within the next couple years, bowl games are going to be either greatly reduced or eliminated altogether. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. But before we do that, I want to give a quick shout out to our new sponsor, Inspiration AI. Auburn guy, Auburn company, show them some love for sure. Look, if you're like an accountant, an attorney, a tax advisor, you guys are spending thousands and thousands of dollars on marketing to get people to your website. Why not have an application that takes full advantage of that traffic, whether it be a live chat back and forth in over 100 different languages, video calls, voice calls, whatever. Take advantage and capture as much information as you possibly can, and you can do it through AI. It's so much more, there's so much more out there than just Chat GPT and Grok making funny images. AI can really help streamline your line of business, can really help maximize all your efforts that you're doing to drive people to your brand. So if you want something out of the box, they have out of the box solutions, and then if you need something a little bit more custom, they can help you there too. So check them out. Go to info@inspiration-ai.com for a demo and see what they can do for you. We'll be back right after this. Bowl games, I think, are dead. I think they were dealt their final death blow. Their final death blow when Notre Dame took their ball and went home. And to an extent, they kind of have an argument, I think. I'm sure I'll get blasted for that, but I'm sure that they felt very, very justified that they should have been in the playoff. And obviously there was a little bit of some unprecedented moves to kick them out and keep Alabama in. And look, we can argue and talk about that until we're blue in the face, but they declined their invitation to a bowl game. And I believe it was the Pop-Tart Bowl, which is, the mother of all bowls now outside of the playoffs. The Pop-Tart Bowl has become the viral sensation. And if the Pop-Tart Bowl is not enough to draw teams, then the rest of the bowls have no chance. And this was a long time coming. And especially the ball really started rolling when Christian McCaffrey, I believe, opted out. That was like the first where people were like, oh, wait, I can do that? If we're not in the BCS or we're not in the 14 playoff, I just don't have to play in in my bowl game and risk injury and things like that. Well, once that happened, that was really the first move to just completely tear down the institution of the bowl game in general. And then it just got worse and worse. And now that there's 12 teams in the playoff, it just makes bowls even that much more meaningless. And honestly, one of the other things that make things a little bit more tricky is when you do have those opt-outs, you have to play players that you typically don't play, or that may not have gotten many snaps throughout the year. So what does that do? Well, if they happen to go off in the game, now the whole world, college football world, knows this player, and his NIL value has just skyrocketed. And other than the practices, there's really no benefit anymore whatsoever. I don't think kids care about the gift packages because now they have NIL. They can just go buy their own PS5 or whatever whatever new generation gaming system there is. They can just go buy all their stuff. The gift things, the stipends, all that stuff is just like it's meaningless now. They have probably photo shoots. They got, NIL ad stuff they could probably be doing to earn even more money, ad opportunities, commercial opportunities. They have all these other things, the bowl game stuff that intrigue now, or that the mystique, or like the experience of going to a bowl game just doesn't mean anything anymore. And I know that's sad. If you're old enough to remember, I can remember being fired up to go to the Cotton Bowl. Auburn, that team in 2006 was a good freaking football team that lost 2 games they had no business losing, and it completely took them out of the BCS. But they got to go to the Cotton Bowl, and it was a chance to go play a team that you don't typically play. You played Nebraska, the old school Cotton Bowl on New Year's Day, and you had a chance to go win 11 games. And there was obviously no opt-outs. Everybody's fired up, and then you go win the game, and it was great. There have been some really good bowl game memories. That used to be exciting to kind of get fired up for New Year's Day to play in those bowl games. But that's just gone. That's just gone, and that college football doesn't exist anymore. And I think we have to come to grips with that, and to understand that it's gone. That game is over. So now it's, how can we figure out how to make the current game that we have better and keep some of the nostalgia and enhance what we have now? Because what we're doing, unfortunately, is we're moving at a snail's pace into the new quote unquote era of college football, which is essentially pro football, just on a like a minor league level. We really need to ramp up the speed, in my opinion, on the transition, because all these little in between areas are just leaving. There's just it just makes it to where it's really impossible to prepare for the future, because it's always changing. Like let's figure out where we want to go, and let's get there. Because all we're doing is like we're slowly just drifting we're slowly drifting on a pathway to a destination that we don't know exists yet. We don't know what that destination is. We need to make that jump. We need to have we have some kind of leadership that can decide what direction we're going, and let's go ahead and get there. Let's go ahead and flip the switch and get there, where we can get settled and figure this thing out. So, bowl games, rest in peace. This may be not the last year of bowl games, but this is, it's going to be a complete mess moving forward with all these different opt-outs. It's going to be a mess. Let's switch gears and talk about hoops for a second. Obviously, look, I'm not going to recap the game. It's not really about the game, because obviously Auburn got blown out. There's not much you can talk about. It got beat at a lot of different levels, out-physicaled, just completely hammered inside. They scored a pile of points in the paint. I get it. But we got to pump the brakes a little bit on throwing the season in the trash. In reality, Auburn's lost to 1, 2, and 1. I don't know what Michigan is in the newest AP. Surely they're number 1 in the country after that, the Vegas Invitational. But you've lost to several really, the elite of the elite teams. Now, the blowouts suck. I'm not going to lie. Like it's discouraging. But I think we got to chill a little bit. Like let's tamper our expectations on, like, if you thought that it's just sustainable in college basketball to go to the Final Four every year, and anything less than a Final Four is a failure, then I just don't think you really know basketball. Give Steven a chance to get this thing going in the right direction. Let's see where we end up in conference play. I feel like anybody that you talk to, anything between like a 4 and a 6 seed is probably what you expected from this team. And I think there's nothing that I've seen that shows that that Auburn can't get there. There's going to be some games that Auburn wins that probably they don't have any business winning. There's probably going to be some losses that they don't have any business losing. And we've already seen some of the blowouts. I mean, it's a brand new team with a new leader. They've won some games already, some really good games. I mean, St. John's just beat Ole Miss, and you pretty much dominated St. John's and from almost start to finish. You did have a small period of time where you were behind, but once you took over, that game was over. So you beat some good basketball teams, and that's going to be the case. There's going to be some wins and there's going to be some losses, and we just got to roll with it. I know typically we dominated last year the hardest out of conference schedule that's maybe ever been assembled, but that was a different team. There was multiple dudes on that team that have been here for a long time. Okay, that was a really good basketball team. This is a really good basketball team, but they're all brand new. Give them time to adjust. Give Steven time to adjust. Like sometimes I wonder how much we actually know ball with some of the responses I've seen about that game and things I've seen elsewhere. So give them time to get this thing going, and I think they're going to be just fine. They're going to be fun to watch. We've been doing the barn casts. They've been a lot of fun. Y'all need to join those. We're going to be for every single game. So I know the next 3 weeks it's like Saturday. So you got 7 days in between. So we'll get together on Saturdays for the next 3 weeks and have some fun talking and watching basketball. Guys, I really appreciate it. Let's get this week kicked off right. Hope you have a great start to your week. We got the press conference today. We'll recap that and then have a ton of content this week and a lot of stuff going on. Don't forget, if you need a good realtor in the Auburn, Opelika area, give me a shout. Kyle Rush at kw.com. Would love to help you there. A lot of investment opportunity stuff. Hit me up, and I'd love to share that with you. And, guys, we'll be back again soon. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.